I found my girlfriend's earring in my brother's bed. I still remember the way my chest tightened, like my ribs were shrinking around my lungs. The light from his half-open blinds fell on the small, silver hoop lying against his sheets, the same one Emma had been wearing the night before. My name's Ethan Cole. I'm 26, from a small coastal town in Maine, though I've been living in Boston for the past 4 years. On paper, I've got my life together. A stable job as a project coordinator at a tech firm, a decent apartment, and a family that still gathers for Sunday dinners. But paper doesn't capture what I've kept buried, what's been eating at me for years. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it. She slid into my car and whispered, "Do you always drive this smooth?" It started 2 summers ago, on the day my life felt like it finally clicked into place. I was up for a promotion, one I'd been working toward for 2 years, and Emma had just moved in with me. I thought I was building something solid, something certain. But uncertainty has a way of slipping in quietly, and it usually arrives wearing the face of someone you trust. That morning, my boss, Claire, called me into her glass-walled office. "You've been leading the FisherTech project flawlessly," she said, sliding a folder toward me. "But there's a snag. We need someone to go meet their operations director in person. Tight deadline. High stakes. You're my first choice." I took the folder without hesitation. "When do I leave?" "Tomorrow," she said. "It's in Portland. And Ethan, don't screw this up. You're not the only one in line for this role." That night, I got home late to find Emma curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She barely looked up when I kissed her cheek. "You're quiet," I said. "Just tired." It should have felt normal. Couples have off nights. But her phone screen dimmed suspiciously fast, and when she tucked it between the couch cushions, I felt something off. I didn't press her. I told myself I was imagining things. The next morning, I packed my bag and left early for the drive north. It was raining lightly, that kind of misty gray that makes the road feel endless. Halfway through the trip, I pulled into a gas station. That's when it happened. She, a stranger, slid into my passenger seat without asking. She was maybe 24, dark hair pulled into a loose bun, wearing a rain-spotted denim jacket. Her eyes sharp, knowing, locked on mine in the rearview mirror. "Do you always drive this smooth?" she asked, like we'd known each other for years. I froze, my hands still on the gear shift. "I think you've got the wrong car." "Maybe," she said, leaning back casually. "Or maybe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The strangest thing? I didn't feel fear. I felt a curiosity, like some part of me had been waiting for this moment without knowing it. She told me her name was Lena. No last name. She was headed to Portland too, and without asking if I minded, she clicked her seatbelt and said, "We've got an hour to kill. Tell me your biggest secret." I laughed it off, but the way she looked at me made it impossible to hold the silence. So I told her about Emma, about the distance I couldn't explain, about how lately I felt like a stranger in my own life. She didn't flinch. "Maybe you're afraid to find out the truth," she said softly. "And maybe that's why you need someone who's not afraid to tell you." By the time I dropped her off downtown, she hadn't asked for my number. She just pressed her palm against the inside of my wrist for a moment, like she was leaving something there, and walked away. I didn't know it then, but that single encounter would unravel everything. My relationship, my job, and the family I thought I could count on. When I got back to Boston 2 days later, Emma was gone. Not just from the apartment, from everything. No calls, no messages. 3 days after that, my mother called me. Her voice was shaking. "Ethan, there's something I have to tell you about Emma, and about your brother." My mother's voice was the kind people get when they're balancing on the edge of saying something that will change everything. "What about my brother?" I asked, gripping the phone so tight my knuckles went white. She hesitated, the silence stretching until I could hear the faint tick of the kitchen clock in the background. "Ethan, Emma's been seeing Ryan for a while." I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe I was wrong. But last weekend, her voice broke. "I saw them together, at your father's birthday dinner. She was in his car when he dropped her off. They didn't see me." The words didn't just land, they hollowed me out. Ryan, my older brother, the guy who taught me how to ride a bike, who stood next to me at every milestone like he was my anchor. I hung up without saying goodbye. Couldn't trust my voice. The next day, I sat in Claire's office, trying to focus as she ran through project details. But my mind kept replaying every moment Emma had worked late, every time Ryan had canceled our plans last minute. I was drowning in the noise of my own doubts. "Ethan, are you with me?" Claire asked, tapping her pen against the desk. "Yeah." I lied, even as my heart was somewhere else entirely. She frowned. "Look, I'm putting you in charge of presenting to Fisher Tech next week. It's make or break for your promotion. If you can't focus, I can," I said, sharper than I intended. That night, unable to sleep, I drove. No destination, just the hum of the tires on wet asphalt. Halfway across the bridge, I saw her again. Lena. She was standing under a streetlight like she'd been waiting for me, her hands in her jacket pockets. "What are you doing here?" I asked as I pulled over. "I was wondering when you'd come back," she said, sliding into the passenger seat again like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her presence was unsettling. Not in a dangerous way, but in the way someone makes you feel when they seem to know too much. "You're not sleeping," she said, watching my hands on the wheel. "You're thinking about them." "How would you know that?" She tilted her head. "Because you told me your biggest secret, but you didn't tell me the part that really matters. You didn't tell me the thing that keeps you from breathing at night." I wanted to tell her to get out. I wanted to keep driving. Instead, I said, "And what's that?" She smiled faintly. "That you've always known you were second choice. At work, in love, in your family." The words landed like a punch to the gut. Not because she was wrong, but because she was too right. When I got home that night, there was an envelope taped to my door. No name, just my handwriting, except I'd never written it. Inside was a single photograph. Emma and Ryan, sitting in what looked like my car. My car. My hands shook as I turned the photo over. On the back, in small, careful letters, "She told me you'd never find out." She was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. The photograph sat on my kitchen table, staring back at me like it was breathing. I must have looked at it 100 times. Emma's hand on Ryan's arm, her head tilted toward him like she used to do with me, that faint smile I thought was mine, and my car's leather seats in the background, like they'd taken something from me in the most personal way possible. I couldn't figure out who took it, or who wanted me to see it. By morning, I wasn't just tired. I was hollow. My phone buzzed. "Claire." "Ethan, I need you in early," she said. "The Fisher Tech team moved up our prep meeting." I almost told her I couldn't, that I was sick. But then I remembered Lena's words. "You've always known you were second choice. Not this time. Not at work." The meeting ran like a blur. I hit every point, kept my voice steady, and didn't let them see the chaos in my head. But as soon as it was over, I found myself outside, standing in the cold, dialing Ryan's number. He didn't answer. Instead, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "If you want the truth, meet me where we first spoke. Tonight, alone." I knew it was her before I even got there. Lena. She was leaning against a lamppost in the same rain-streaked denim jacket, sipping coffee like she had all the time in the world. "You sent the photo," I said. She didn't deny it. "You needed proof. Now you need the rest." I crossed my arms. "And what's that?" "That Emma wasn't just cheating on you," she said, her voice almost too calm. "She was planning to leave you for him. But your brother, he's not who you think he is." Something in her tone chilled me. "What are you talking about?" Lena took a step closer, her eyes locking on mine. "He's been lying to you for years. About Emma. About your dad. About why you got that job at your company." My stomach tightened. "How the hell do you know any of this?" She smiled faintly, not the friendly kind. "Because I'm not just some girl who slid into your car. I knew Emma. Before you did." I felt the air leave my lungs. "You knew her." "She was my roommate," Lena said quietly. "And she told me everything. About you. About your family. about the night that could ruin them all if it ever came out. Before I could ask what she meant, she pulled a folded piece of paper from her jacket and pressed it into my hand. "Read it when you're ready," she said, "and when you do, you'll understand why I showed up." Then she walked away and didn't look back. At home, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the paper. My hands shook as I unfolded it. It wasn't a letter. It was a copy of a police report, filed in my hometown, dated 8 years ago, and at the top, under suspect, Ryan Cole. I read that police report 3 times before I could make myself breathe again. The charges: assault, concealment of evidence, witness intimidation. The victim's name wasn't listed. It was marked withheld for safety. But the witness? Emma Walker. I could feel my pulse in my ears. 8 years ago, I was just starting college. Ryan had dropped out of his 3rd year and moved back home. I remember a fight my parents wouldn't talk about. My dad's voice booming in the garage, my mom crying in the kitchen. Then Ryan disappeared for a few weeks. When he came back, no one explained where he'd been. Now I knew. He'd been avoiding a court date. I called Lena. No answer. I called again. She finally picked up on the 3rd ring. "You read it," she said. "What the hell happened?" I demanded. Her voice softened. Emma was 17. Ryan was 22. They met at a party. She told me he got aggressive, wouldn't let her leave. A neighbor heard her shouting and called the cops. She pressed charges. But your parents convinced her to withdraw them. Said they'd take care of her. I gripped the phone tighter. Take care of her? They paid her off, Ethan, Lena said. And she took it. But she never forgave him. When she met you years later, she didn't even recognize you as his brother at first. Until she did. And then she stayed. Maybe to hurt him. Maybe to hurt you. Maybe both. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Why are you telling me this now? Because Emma's gone, Lena said quietly. She called me before she left. She's scared. She said Ryan's not done with her. Something in me snapped. All the years of being second choice, of being kept in the dark, of living in the shadow of someone I thought I knew. I drove to my parents' house. Ryan's car was in the driveway. My mom answered the door, her face pale. Where is he? I asked. Ethan, please. Where? Ryan stepped into the hallway, hands in his pockets, like he'd been expecting me. You found the file. You ruined her life, I said. You ruined mine. He tilted his head. You always needed someone to blame. I just made it easy for you. I don't remember lunging. I remember my mother screaming, my father pulling me back. Ryan's smirk never faded. And in that moment, I understood something brutal. Some people don't regret what they've done, they regret being caught. I left that house and never went back. I didn't get the promotion. I didn't keep the apartment. I started over in a smaller city, with fewer people who knew my name. Sometimes I still see Lena, not often, but enough to know she was right. She wasn't there to save me. She was there to make sure I faced the truth. And the truth is this. The hardest betrayal isn't what someone does to you. It's realizing the version of them you loved never really existed. You can spend your life chasing answers, digging through lies, waiting for someone to explain why they hurt you. But in the end, the only way to survive is to stop needing their reasons. Because some wounds don't close with closure. They close when you walk away, even if you're still bleeding. That's what I did. And somehow, that's how I finally learned what freedom feels like.